I'm so thrilled to be here with His Excellency, Dr. Omar Farouk Ibrahim, the Secretary General of the African Petroleum Producers Organization. Thank you, sir, so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
How does APPO contribute to attracting investment in traditional oil projects within its member countries?
This has been a challenge that we have identified in the last 3 years when we conducted a major study on the challenges that the global energy transition posed to our countries that are largely dependent on oil and gas revenue. Resulting from that study was our decision, the decision of our ministerial council, to look beyond the traditional means of getting funding for the oil and gas industry. Sadly, in the last 70 to 100 years that Africa has been producing oil and gas, we have relied predominantly on foreign financing for the industry. And with the decision by the global community to move away from fossil fuels to renewable energies and the various policies that these countries on whom we've been dependent to end fossil fuel funding, we have decided to look within our countries to see that we raise the funds to be able to fund the oil and gas industry on the African continent.
And I'm so glad that you brought up renewable energies. And how is APPO, what steps is APPO taking to ensure there's a balance between hydrocarbon development and the push for clean energy on the continent?
APPO has made it abundantly clear that we are not against energy transition, but every society has a right to set its priorities. To the developed countries of the world, their priority today is to move away to cleaner energies. Ours is first of all to even get the energy. We don't have it, so where are we really transiting from? At the right moment, we will also be fully committed to renewables. But for now, really, our focus is on developing what we have so that we will be able to give our people energy. Yes, Africa has a lot of the critical minerals for the new energy economy, but we don't have the technology to exploit those minerals to turn them into the new energies. We are trying to avoid as much as possible a situation where we leave one form of dependence and go into another form of dependence. We have been heavily dependent, even though we have a lot of fossil fuels, on outside of Africa to meet our energy needs. Now, if we are not careful, these minerals are going to be taken out, produce energy, and we are going to buy in like we are doing today. We send out our crude oil and we buy refined products. This is unacceptable. It has to change. So basically, we want to go with what we have seen and what we know we can do, not to go fantasizing and looking for something that even the developed countries are yet to confirm that there is certainty about their projections on renewable energies.
And with the recent establishment of the African Energy Bank, how does APPO envision the role of intra-African oil and gas financing evolving over the coming years?
You see, the establishment of the African Energy Bank was our idea of handling or dealing with the financing challenge I mentioned to you about, that we've been heavily dependent on outside of Africa for financing the industry. And we realized that, look, our salvation lies within us. Nobody is going to come outside of Africa to change Africa for the better. And if we accept that, then we have to work on our own. And that's how we established the African Energy Bank. Now, the African Energy Bank is going to focus essentially in addressing the three challenges that we have identified as imminent to the African oil and gas industry as a result of the energy transition. The first I mentioned is the financing challenge. The second is technology and expertise in the oil and gas industry. And the third is what you talked about, market and energy market. We cannot, traditionally on the African continent, the only energy infrastructure you find are mostly running from areas of production to the seaports. Look at all the pipelines, whether it is oil or gas or whatever, from areas of production to the seaports, not into the hinterlands for people to get the energy. Now, you can't develop an energy market, any kind of market, without transportation. You need to be able to move goods and services from areas of plenty to areas of need. So we need to develop energy infrastructure across the African continent. We want to focus first on regions. When we have done with the regions, then we'll link up the regions. Start with cross-border between countries, go beyond regions to countries to regions, and then link up the continent. And that's an area that the Africa Energy Bank is going to really focus on, ensuring that we have integrated energy infrastructure across the African continent. That way, even if those on whom we have been dependent for markets of our oil and gas decide not to buy it, with nearly 1 billion Africans who do not have access to energy, 600 million do not have access to electricity, we have a huge potential market. All we need to do is to develop that market, move it from being potential to real, and we'll have the 7 million barrels that we produce today will not be even enough for us.
And what are APPO's energy development priorities from now to 2030?
Essentially, focus on exploiting to the maximum the oil and gas resources that we have, enhance our upstream, because this has been the most affected in terms of financing in the last few years. We need to be able to get these energies out from the subsoil so that we can use it. We will also continue to focus on the energy infrastructure. Like I said, there's no point producing oil or gas if you can't move them from areas of need to areas of plenty to areas of need. And the third is we are going to focus in the next few years in ensuring that we have created regional centers of excellence in oil and gas across the African continent. Let me tell you why. In the 70 to 100 years that Africa has been producing oil and gas, virtually all the technology on oil and gas, the research, the development, the fabrication is done outside of Africa. We only consume the technology. Now, the people on whom we have been dependent for the last 70 to 100 years on these technologies have decided that they want to move on. As a result, the research institutions, the technology institutions are moving away from researches in hydrocarbons to renewable energies and others. I always give example with the Imperial College London, one of the best oil and gas institutions in the world over 100 years. They only recently shut down their Faculty of Petroleum. They don't want to do anything about petroleum anymore. Okay? And this is a trend that we see going to happen in a number of European and American institutions. If that happens, what do we do in the industry? Look, the oil or gas that is in the subsoil everywhere is not created in in a matter of hundreds of years. They are there already. The difference is that when you develop certain technologies, you are able to find them, access them, bring them out. The moment you stop research, then you have reached what you call peak oil or peak gas or whatever. So if we want to continue to find oil and use it and gas, we have no choice but to master that technology. Today we have industries and oil and gas. The moment anything breaks down, we can't run them because the spare parts have to be imported outside of Africa. So these are the areas that we really want to focus on to make sure that, yes, even if those on whom we have relied on heavily to operate this oil and gas industry decide to leave, we will be able to continue to benefit from the resources that God has endowed us with.
And just my final question, we are here at African Energy Week. How many editions of the event have you attended, and what are you looking to achieve over the course of this week?
All the editions of, by the way, APPO is a partner with African Energy Chamber on the African Energy Week. Before NJ started this, we sat together in the APPO Secretariat and we said, look, we are part of this. And so we've been part of it from the beginning, and we'll be part of it for it. In my opening, in my keynote address on Tuesday, I made it clear that we are partners in this, and will continue to give Africa Energy Week all the support it needs to be able to articulate the voice of the African oil and gas industry. Well, energy industry, but more focused on oil and gas.